In this lesson, I'll show you how to convert between Celsius, Fahrenheit, and Kelvin. The first question reads, a sick child has a temperature of 40.00 Celsius. What is the child's temperature in A, Kelvin, and in B, Fahrenheit? We are told that the child's temperature is 40.00. That is a total of 4 significant figures. So we'll be taking into account the correct number of significant figures for each calculation. We'll start with A. To find the equivalent of 40.00 Celsius in Kelvin, we need to use this formula, where Kelvin is equal to Celsius plus 273.15. So let's go ahead and substitute 40.00, and also keep in mind that 273.15 is an exact number, so the amount of significant figures here doesn't count towards when we're using the rules of significant figures. So if we add, for part A, Kelvin is equal to 40.00 plus 273.15, we will end up with, and I'll use my calculator for this, 40.00 plus 273.15 gives us 313.15. 313.15 Kelvin. Now, to account for the correct number of significant figures, your final answer needs to have the amount of decimal places as the number with the least amount of decimal places that you added originally. So for example, here we have 2 decimal places, 1, 2, and here we have 2. But remember, this is an exact number, so we're not going to take that into account. That means your final answer needs to have 2 as well. If our number was 40.0, so 1 decimal place, then your final answer should be rounded to 1 decimal place as well. Now that we've covered A, we can move on to B. In part B, we have to convert 40.00 to Fahrenheit. To do that, we'll need to use this formula, where Celsius is equal to F minus 32 over 9 over 5. So I'll replace this C with 40. We have 40.00 is equal to Fahrenheit minus 32 over 9 over 5. What we have to do is isolate for F, because F is our target. And to do that, I'll first multiply both sides by 9 over 5. Look what happens. This 9 over 5 here and this 9 over 5 will cancel each other out. And on the left side, we have 9 over 5 times 40. In other words, 9 times 40 divided by 5. We'll worry about that later. Next, what we have to do is take this negative 32 and bring it over to the left side. Look what happens if you do that. We get 9 over 5 times 40.00 plus 32 is equal to F. Now when it comes to multiplying this part and then adding the 32, you have to be very cautious with the significant figures. What you want to do is multiply this first, and here's how. 9 over 5 times 40, that gives us 72, or 72.00. We want to retain the same number of significant figures as the number we started with, plus 32. Now we have to add 72.00 to this number using our calculator, plus 32. We end up with 104.00. Since 32 is an exact number and it's part of the formula, we don't take into account the amount of decimal places of this number. We simply use this number. Now we can move on to question 2. In question 2, we're asked, gallium is a solid metal at room temperature, but melts into a liquid in your hand. A link to a blog showing this phenomenon is in the description below. The melting point of gallium is 85.6 Fahrenheit. What is the temperature on A, the Celsius scale, and B, the Kelvin scale? We'll start with A. To find what the equivalent temperature is in Celsius, we need to again use this formula. What we will do is substitute 85.6 into F. We end up with Celsius is equal to 85.6 minus 32 over 9 over 5. This is a straightforward calculation. Let's substitute this into our calculator. 85.6 minus 32 divided by 9 over 5. This gives us 29.7, repeating. Let's write that down. Celsius is equal to 29.7 degrees Celsius repeating. Now, we need to make sure that our final answer has 3 significant figures. And if you look at the number, we have 29.777 and so on. We have to stop writing after 3 significant figures. So this 7 right here, since it's greater than 5, will influence this 7 to go up by 1. This becomes an 8, so our answer is 29.8 degrees Celsius. For part B of this question, we have to convert the temperature into Kelvin. And notice that the Kelvin formula uses Celsius, so we can use what we found earlier into this formula. Let's go ahead and do that. Kelvin, which is equal to the Celsius plus 273.15. Instead of using 29.8 as my Celsius, I'll use 29.7 repeating in place of this Celsius. But when I go to add them, I know that my final answer has to have 1 decimal place. Here's what I mean. 29.7777, that's enough sevens, plus 273.15. This gives me 302.92. Let's write that down first. 302.92. Because our original number had 1 decimal place, we should also have 1 decimal place here. So our final answer should be 302.9 Kelvin. This 2 is less than 5, so this stays the way it is. And there you have it. That is how to convert between Celsius, Fahrenheit, and Kelvin.